On the pod today, we're lucky to have back Jason Kander, the second season of Majority 54, hit podcast here at Crooked Media, launches on May 25th. And your first guest, big get, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's been doing some work with your team at Let America Vote. So tell us about the first episode. Why did you want to talk to Lin, and what did you guys talk about?
Yeah, it was really exciting. Lin, obviously, we wanted to talk to him about the work he's done with Puerto Rico, but also about just activism. He's somebody I talk all the time about the importance of grabbing an oar, getting out there and using their platform, and he's definitely done that. And then on top of that, he has this Prizeo campaign where folks can go to Prizeo.com/Hamilton and they can, make a small contribution and enter to win a chance to be his date for when Hamilton opens in D.C. And one of the beneficiaries of that campaign is Let America Vote. Len had reached out and said, "Hey, we want to benefit Let America Vote with this." And so it all just kind of came together perfectly where we could talk to Len and also at the same time promote that opportunity. So again, I'm going to do it again. Prizeo.com/Hamilton.
That's awesome. So what's your vision for the second season of Majority 54? What kind of conversations are you interested in having this time, and sort of what did you learn from the first season?
Well, first, let me say thank you to you and to everybody at Crooked, because y'all gave us the chance to do this, and it's been fun to be able to work with you, and so I appreciate that a lot. And then, for those who haven't listened to the show before, one thing I should talk about is how it started in the first place, which is, I've been in now 40 states since Trump took office, and one of the most common questions that people asked me before the podcast was, how do I talk to my Republican aunt or my friend from high school who voted for Trump, but I want to preserve this relationship, but I want to be able to try and persuade them at the same time? And I got that question so much, and so then we pretty much built a podcast around that. So that's what it is. It's conversations with people who have been affected by these issues, who are within the 54% of folks who didn't vote for Trump. And it's all about how to have productive conversations that don't in any way compromise our values with the 46% of folks who did vote for President Trump, and how to expand our majority. And I think one of the biggest things I learned from the first season is that people found a lot of value, maybe more than I even would have estimated, in the part of the show where we sort of walk through strategies for talking about this stuff. They really liked you were one of them. And so we're doing that a lot more. We're still going to do absolutely the interviews with exciting people who are, Lin is a little bit of an exception to this, obviously, because he's hugely famous. But for the most part, it is with people who you really haven't heard much from or much about before, but are affected by the issue and who got moved to get involved by whichever issue we're talking about at that time. And so people like that. But then we're also going to continue and expand on the part of the show where we walk through, okay, here's what the other side says. Here's what you can say back. And it's not, it's not the talking points that you are going to hear on cable news. It's storytelling, and it's opening yourself up to people and saying, like, here's the journey that I went on to believe this, and I want to take you with me.
Jason, in your travels and in your work with Let America Vote, you've been very focused on millennials and young voters. And I'm curious about what you're hearing out there from them. There was a somewhat disturbing Pew poll out I think this week that says that, basically only a third of voters under 30 are following the election closely. What are you seeing out there, and what can Democratic politicians do to engage that audience?
Well, what I'm seeing is an enormous amount of energy. I mean, man, I'm sure y'all see it too. You do the live shows. I mean, you have these people who are turning out and then talking about all the work they're putting in. So, I've seen all sorts of polls that say a bunch of different things, but the biggest thing to me that's exciting is, and this is true across the generations, but especially with young people, that I don't see people who are showing up and saying, I'm here at this event, or I knock on doors because of this particular politician on TV. They find inspiration, like they listen to Pod Save America, or some of them will tell me, they'll say nice things to me about it. But what brought them out, when you dig a little deeper, is, their neighbor who was going to go to a town hall during the Trump care debates and had never done anything like that, and they went with him. And all of a sudden, now they've started a new group in their area. So I'm seeing that all the time. And I'm really excited about that, because what I always remind people of, and this is getting to like how we engage folks, I remind people that the blue wave is not a weather event. It's not like your meteorologist doesn't come on and say, well, there seems to be some Democratic momentum coming in from the West. It don't work that way. You got to execute. You get out and you do the work. And I think the most important thing to engage folks is the stuff that we're doing with Let America Vote and other groups are doing, which is give them stuff to do. Like the millennials, they look at it, they're not satisfied to watch it on TV or read about it. They want to put their hands on it, and they want to go door to door, and they want to make a difference. They're looking to save the country. And so the best thing you can do to engage them is make their time productive and useful.
Since you've been out there talking to so many people, what messages do you find resonating with and connecting with people the most? Like when you're speaking and talking to people, when are the moments that people start really shaking their heads?
It's when I tell people that the Democratic Party is the party that is that every policy we have, everything about our party is about one thing, and that's making every American hometown a place where you can have success without moving away if you don't want to. And that is particularly true in the Midwest and the South. And I live in Kansas City, and I've just come to believe that every American wants the same four things for their family, and that's what all of politics is about. And those four things are: they want their family to be happy, to be healthy, to be safe, and to be nearby. And we have a lot. We should brag as a party a lot more about the fact that all the stuff we do, it's really about making it so that people don't have to leave their hometown if they don't want to have success. And if they do, they can move home and have, whether it's college affordability, making it so that they don't have so much debt that they could actually move home, whether it's wages being high enough, whether it's criminal justice reform, allowing folks to have a second chance and come out and be a part of making for a safe, vibrant community that people want to stay in. All that stuff is about the same thing. And that's that folks who live in the middle of the country where I live, we're all just really worried about the fact that our kids may have to leave to find a good job. It's not what we want.
What do you make about this whole debate about, how progressive someone should be to win in a certain district? Like on Tuesday, we saw candidates like Anna Eastman, who won the nomination for the 2nd Congressional District in Nebraska. And, she was the more liberal candidate. And so you get a bunch of pundits saying, well, I don't know now if we can win that district in Nebraska because the more left-leaning candidate won. You're someone who ran unabashedly as a progressive in a fairly red state. So what do you make of this whole debate?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the thing to take from the primaries is that an awful lot of people are interested in being a part of the Democratic Party. Yeah. And that's a great thing. Like the reason that I don't find the primaries, and particularly crowded primaries, to be a bad thing is because, it's a party, and a lot of people want to go to it. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of people who have run for at all levels, Congress, but also city council, who probably were thinking about it for a long time. And then there are a lot of other people who I've met who never thought about it, but then said, you know what, it's time. I'm looking at what's going on in the country. I want to run, and they choose the Democratic Party. That's momentum to me. So no, I don't buy into that stuff. I think the most important thing to do now is for everybody, like if your candidate won, great. If your candidate didn't win and you got really involved in the primary, well, it's not over.
Right.
You got into this because you don't like the direction of the country. Stick with it. And that's whether you were with the progressive candidate or the less progressive candidate, either way. And blue wave's not a weather event.
That's right.
We got work to do.
Jason, what there's been a bunch of there's been sort of a flurry of progressive economic ideas floating out there among Democrats. They were discussed at the CAP conference, Center for American Progress Ideas Conference last week. We've had people on this show talking about them. Are there anything, whether it's universal basic income, federal jobs guarantee, or anything that you find really interesting as a solution to some of the economic challenges facing working and middle-class Americans?
Yeah, I think that all of them are worth discussing, and I'm having a lot of conversations with people about all of them. But I think that the most important thing in this is that we not get to a place where we think that the key here politically is to come up with some magic bullet solution or anything like that. I mean, we have to, and I think a lot of these ideas have merit and should be discussed. But I think the key here is recognizing that we, and it goes back to what I was saying, that we are about things that make it more likely that every American hometown can be strong. And that's hometowns, like that's Ferguson, that's rural areas, that's everywhere. Everybody wants basically the same thing. And I really think that when you look back at like 2016 and people tried to draw a lot of lessons out of it, and they said, oh, well, Donald Trump was talking about trade, and people jumped onto that. Well, no, what people were jumping onto is economic anxiety about whether or not they're going to be able to achieve that American dream. And to me, that American dream is like what I'm fortunate enough to have, which is that my wife and I have good paying jobs, live on a safe street, access to a doctor, and this part's important, and our party misses this a lot, and we're able to live near where we grew up. So our son is 20 minutes drive from both sets of grandparents. And so any economic policy that makes that stuff more likely, that's exactly the direction we should go in.
So I asked people on Twitter if they had any questions for you, and overwhelmingly the most popular question was, will we get to vote for you again at some point, Jason Kander? So please let the people know what you think about that.
That's a great way of asking that question, Jon. That was very delicate.
Yeah, see? How's that?
That's nice. That's creative. That's very nice. Well, I'll just be very plain about it. A lot of people have asked me about 2020, and that makes me think about it. But I think the most important thing I can be doing right now is focusing on fighting voter suppression with Let America Vote, fighting to help take back the House. I've now been to 40 states since Trump took office, campaigning for candidates and headlining events, and I'm going to keep doing that. And then after 2018, I'll consider my options.
Well, if you have an announcement to make, you know where to make it, Jason. Right here on Pod Save America.
We have become everything we hate. You asked the 2020 question, and then you did the thing where it's like, I know you kind of answered this, but didn't. But when you really want to answer it, do it on my show.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go take a shower now.
Let me make it worse. I am here to announce season 2 of Majority 54 and the Prezio Hamilton campaign that helps Let America Vote.
Look at that. Look at us. Look at all this.
There you go. I mean, we're all just, oh my gosh.
All right, Jason. Thank you for stopping by. Come back again. Good luck. The new season of Majority 54 begins May 25th with Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jason Kander. Check it out, guys.